Alright, this is John Colo with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, coming at you from a beautiful backyard garden here in June. Oh my gosh, time is flying when you're having fun. So summertime is when I'm growing a lot of different plants in my garden, especially a lot of Solanaceae family of plants. Behind the camera, actually I'm growing purple potatoes. Right here I have purple eggplants. I have some tomatoes behind me, and right to the side, you guys probably can't see those, I got some pepper plants. These are all in the Solanaceae family of plants. Some people, in my opinion, believe that Solanaceae plants produce solanine, which is a toxin, and especially eggplants, and you shouldn't eat them. Well, I would not deny that while some people may have extreme allergies to any different plant phytochemical or phytonutrient, you know, most people that are in good health should be fine if properly processed. This video is actually, talking about plant toxins, and why I think some people get it wrong when they think about plant toxins. And I'm going to share with you guys my views on toxins in plants, solanine being one of many. Every plant will produce different kinds of toxins. And just because it has a toxin, is it bad and should we completely avoid it, is the question I'll be answering today. Now, of course, this is my opinions based on the science that are reviewed, and I will share with you based on me eating a plant-based diet for the last 26 years, evolving, learning, and growing on my whole entire journey. Plus, this is also me speaking as a gardener, trying to think more like how the plants think, how they feel. Well, yes, they do feel a little bit, not as much as people, but and this kind of stuff. So if you have some kind of medical condition, please consult a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Do not construe this as medical advice. I'm just sharing with you guys my opinions on this video. Please understand that some people may violently react to certain plant toxins or other things occurring in the plants, and so this holds true for me, and I'm going to share with you guys how I lead my lives. Of course, you could feel free how to lead your lives however you guys want. So to sum this video up, since some people don't like my long videos, I'm going to try to keep this one short. I'm going to say this: eat a wide variety of plant foods, and the toxins should not be of concern if you are a properly healthy person with a good, healthy microbiome, and you process the food properly. And a matter of fact, in my view, the plant toxins can actually be of huge benefit, so we should eat a well-rounded diet. I do not advocate diets of, eating a diet rich in lectins, which if you go to Banana Island, you're eating banana lectins. Oh, lectins are bad. You shouldn't eat bananas because of banana lectins. Well, you're going to find out why banana lectins may be good for you. But nonetheless, I don't encourage you guys to concentrate any kind of plant toxin. As people, we kind of think, oh, if a little bit is good, more is better. And I do this too, right? Hey, a little bit of sex might be good, but too much, well, some of those parts down there could definitely get worn out. And, too much of a good thing can definitely be a bad thing if it is in excess. And that is what I believe how it is with plant toxins. And we're going to discuss that. So anyways, without further ado, let's get into this video. So the first thing I will say is that all plants produce toxins. Yes, even fruits produce toxins. In bananas, there's banana lectins, and in apples, there's the apple seeds that contain the laetrile or cyanide, if you want to call it that, right? In high doses, those things are probably not good for us, and in low doses, they actually may have therapeutic effects, as I'll be speaking about in a second. But here's the thing, right? Plants have evolved on the planet to defend themselves against other creatures and their predators. Us! We are plant predators! I mean, check out our teeth. The plants all produce different plant chemicals within their tissues, and this is to prevent bugs and, bacteria and fungus and mold and mildew and, all different kinds of predators from eating it before it can do its job. What is it, plant's job? What's your job, plant? Wait, I heard it. It told me to reproduce. It wants to basically grow. It wants to flower like it's flowering. It wants to make the fruits, and it wants to spread out its seeds like we all want to do. We all want to reproduce. And it would not be able to reproduce if a deer or something came and just ate the whole plant down to the stub. It wouldn't be able to reproduce. So all plants, I don't care what kind of plant it is, even lettuce. Lettuce has small amounts of toxins, and we'll talk about that, how lettuce has less toxins than, old school plants or things that aren't not quite as bred to be less toxic. So because the plants have toxins, that means we should avoid the plants that have the high toxins or all the toxins. Here's the thing. I think that is, in my opinion, simple thinking. As people, we always want to make the answer simple. That's why people don't like my long videos, because the answer is not that simple. John, just tell me what to do. Tell me, do plants have toxins? Should I eat them or should I not? And the answer is not a yes or no answer. Most answers in life are not yes or no answers. It depends. Maybe you love a lot of things about your wife, but there's like one or two things that you don't like. Just because you don't like the one or two things is now you're just going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. She's not a good person because she doesn't take out the trash, and I'm going to break up with her because I don't like that one thing about her. Plants have so many amazing qualities. Just to say that, oh, eggplant, you're bad because the solanacea is toxic. Should you not eat it? I think you're missing out personally. But of course, you could live your life however you want. I think that's very simple thinking, and a lot of carnivores, people in a keto diets, high meat diets, will get into this whole, actually a lot of the videos on YouTube for plant toxins are about how bad they are and how we should just avoid them. So then they say, oh, the answer is eating meat, because meat, they don't have these plant toxins, because guess what? The animals that ate the plants that had the toxins, the animals had to basically remove the toxins and get it into them so that all the plant that makes up the animals don't have the toxins anymore. But the animal had to do it, So I think that's very simple thinking. And for me, I will choose plants every single time over animals, because the plants, aside from having some small level of toxins, in some cases some have large toxins, they also have a lot of other things that are beneficial for us, including vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals, the micronutrients, that the animal products have sheer caloric density, but not a lot of micronutrients, especially the plant phytonutrients, as compared, to animal products. So I would encourage you guys to have a phytonutrient, plant-rich diet, whether you want to eat a little bit of meat, but I do not believe that excluding plants from our diets is a healthy or good thing to do. Second point I want to make is that the plant toxins vary widely in how much the toxin each plant or each part of the plant that you eat will have in it. For example, commonly accepted plant foods like fruits and vegetables at the grocery store generally will have lower levels of these plant toxins compared to wild foods, because basically as humans and agriculture, they've bred these plant toxins out of the foods. Every year I grow tropical lettuce, which is more of a wild lettuce, in my garden, that has a lot more bitter flavor than the, iceberg lettuce that the plant toxins has been bred out. And that's why people say iceberg lettuce doesn't have any nutrition. It does have nutrition. It still has protein. But yes, I would say it's less nutritious than an open head red lettuce that has basically anthocyanins, which is a polyphenol or a nutrient to me, but also it's a plant toxin. So in general, people would think that, store-bought has lower toxins, and so that might be safer for people that believe in this. Some plants will produce higher amounts of these toxins. For example, like a green tomato will have higher toxins than a fully ripe tomato. Same thing with the peppers. So does that mean we should only eat the grocery store food? Well, yeah, that's a good question. So, I believe that plant toxins, as we'll discuss, can have a benefit in our bodies as proven by science. That being said, we don't want to get too many of them. I try to include as wide of a variety of foods as I can in my diet, including wild foods. And some wild foods, you need to process the wild foods to reduce the toxins so that we can eat them and, we can get the benefits from those plants. Another thing I will say as a gardener, what I'll say is this, is that I will say that Organic food generally can have more plant toxins than conventional food in general. You could probably find studies that prove this contrary. But basically, here's the thing, right? If you're using the plant's own protection, because the plant makes the plant toxins to defend itself against pests, if you're spraying on pesticide onto the plant, then the plant's like, oh, I don't have any pests, I don't need to make any plant toxin to defend myself, then it's going to actually have less levels of toxins if you are concerned about that. That being said, I'm more concerned about the man-made chemicals that are sprayed onto the food than the plant toxins myself, right? As humans, as we've evolved on this planet, we've evolved to deal with the plant toxins as long as we have been human, because we've been eating plants as long as we've been being human. We might have ate some meat back in the old days, to a small extent, but we ate lots of plants as proven by science and, the archaeological discovery of how much fiber we ate and all these kind of things, right? We ate lots of fiber and we got a lot of plant toxins. So our body was adapted to deal with these plant toxins in certain levels. But the thing is, our bodies are not designed to handle these man-made toxins, which I would call basically synthetic pesticides and herbicides, fungicides, things like Roundup that are shown to be a probable carcinogen, that people are winning lawsuits all the time against these chemical companies. So I think it would be very important to minimize and or eliminate your conventional produce consumption to eliminate the man-made toxins, which I believe to be far worse than the plant toxins that we've evolved to deal with. So I think it might be a reasonable thing to think that, like, oh, if toxins are bad, it'd be good to just not eat them and avoid them. Well, see, here's the thing. The problem with that is that when you're avoiding one thing, you're also avoiding another thing. Like the wife analogy I gave a little bit earlier. If we just avoid Solanaceae family plants, then we're not going to get some of the other benefits that are in the eggplant because of that one problem with it, right? I'm sure there's something about your boyfriend or your girlfriend, your husband or your wife that you don't like, but you still love them, right? Same thing with the plants. I have that relationship with the plants. Hey, there's some things I don't like about plants. Hey, you make a little bit of toxin, but I still like it because then I get the other benefits. But as you'll learn, toxins can have benefits when we eat them. The third point I want to make in this video is that the processing of the food can and will reduce plant toxins, okay? So, for example, how the food is grown can influence the plant toxins. Like if I stress out the plant more, it'll likely create more plant toxins because the plants are have like a hormetic stress system where like they react to stress. They're stressed out. They're going to create more plant toxins, but defend itself against pests. Sometimes I will consciously eat my leaves that have gotten eaten by aphids. That have aphids on it, right, on purpose, because when the aphids stick their little mouths into the leaf and suck the leaf juice out, the plant's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting sucked on. I like being sucked on by aphids, and now I'm going to create some more plant chemicals to defend myself, right? It's shown that stressed out plants in plant studies have more of some of these valuable chemicals that may be good for us. Likewise, if you harvest them unripe, they could have more, right? But even then, once you harvest it, then how you process it can reduce the plant toxins to make some plants actually safe to eat. I think, the kidney beans come to mind. I had a friend that soaked and sprouted kidney beans and ate them, and she got really sick, and you could lose your life by doing that. I do not recommend, eating foods that have high levels of toxins. Some of them do need to be heat processed to reduce them. So, cooking can reduce toxins. I personally like pressure cooking the best because pressure cooking will remove the toxins but also maintain more of the beneficial nutrients in the food. Of course, ways like frying could also reduce the toxic load and the toxins in the plants, but also it can create carcinogens at the same time. Things like dehydration, sprouting, and soaking, even things like refrigeration can affect the amount of toxins in the food. And I can't say always do this or always do that because every different, processing method will reduce different toxins more or less. And that is the whole principle of this video is that life is not simple. Life is not a yes or no answer. It is quite complex, and the problem is we have the most powerful supercomputers in our brain, in our minds, in our heads, our brains, and people would rather be sitting there glued to their phone, just listen to some YouTube video, do this, this, and this. Oh, okay. And they don't want to use their supercomputers to think about this stuff. I think about these things, and that's why I'm making this video for you guys today. And I want you guys to think about these things as well, if your health is truly important to you. Fourth point I want to say is, once again, I want to reiterate, I said this a bit earlier, but I really want to say that, since we have been humans, we've been dealing with plant toxins, naturally occurring plant toxins on the planet as we've evolved. Some plant toxins we can handle, some we can't. And here's the interesting thing. Other animals on the planet can also deal with some plant toxins, but can't deal with others. That's why deers won't eat certain plants, right? That's why you're not supposed to feed dog onions or certain different kinds of plants, because the dogs or the deers can't deal with certain plant toxins, whereas we can, and that's the whole thing. Oh, and then the other thing is not even this. This is the crazy part. Like, we could deal with some toxins, right? But more importantly than us dealing with the toxins, our microbiome, or our beneficial bacteria, fungi, archaea, and all the other different creatures that live on and inside us also help us deal with plant toxins. So if you've had antibiotics, you've likely wiped out a lot of your beneficial flora, and now guess what? You're not going to be able to deal with plant toxins much, because we've evolved also with our microbiome. And I'll be discussing this and why that is important in just a little bit. And once again, that's why I want to reiterate, I do not encourage man-made toxins, because we have not grown up literally with these over the thousands of millions of years we humans have been on the planet. And I don't even know how long we've been here, because I remember that from school. Fifth point I want to make is that each person is genetically different, and each person has a different microbiome. So that means, what does that mean? That means that we could all handle different amounts of the same toxin. I'm not even going to make any kind of thing. I'm not even going to make any analogies, because I don't want to get in trouble. But here's the thing, if with me having a good microbiome and I eat New Zealand spinach, very high in oxalates, right? Plant toxin. Should we avoid oxalates because it's a plant toxin? And I eat oxalates. I could eat more of the oxalates and not have any negative effects, in my personal opinion, because I have a healthy microbiome that helps me digest those oxalates. Whereas for my brother, who eats the standard American diet, right, eats oxalates, he's more likely, in my personal opinion, I'm not a doctor or anything, to get kidney stones, because he does not have the right microbiome or the right bacteria to digest the oxalates. In addition, right, we are all genetically different. We come from different origins. Our ancestry of you individually, we, like, some of my ancestry is from China, some of my ancestry is from Europe, so I got a mix of both. And some of my ancestors, they have gotten used to eating certain foods, and when you try to eat foods outside that ancestral diet, to some extent, I'm not going to say this is totally, if you're an Eskimo, you should only eat meat, but to some extent, our genes influence how we could process toxins, right? We could have genetic defects or abnormalities. If you do a 23andMe test, you could run through these different calculators and see what gene defects. Maybe you can't absorb B12, or maybe you can't convert, beta carotene into vitamin A, all these different things. But I believe that, the gene defects, also our microbiome, and probably there's other factors too that will help us to deal with more or less toxins. Plus, you could have allergies to toxins. So, each person is different, and that's the part that people don't like to think about. Like, it's so variable. Like, I don't know which toxins I should avoid. Well, I would keep, the best way to do that is keep a food log and write down what you're eating and how it makes you feel. And if you eat, all the beans I eat always make me feel bad or whatever, maybe there's some issues in beans, and maybe you should try to process beans in a better way. Pressure cooking and fermenting beans are the best way I found to reduce the maximum amount of toxins in the food, to maybe make them so that you can handle them. If you cook spinach, boil your spinach in water. That some of the water that will boil out, and you'll remove some of the oxalates in the water boil. Don't drink the boiling water, and just eat the spinach. So there's many cooking strategies you can use to reduce these, but the things you can't really change are like your genes, but you could, positively impact your microbiome by making changes in your life to increase your microbiome so that you can more effectively deal with toxins. Now, the other thing I will say, there's also enzyme systems and cofactors and different cofactors to when our body has to break down toxins. Like if you're not getting this certain vitamin or this certain mineral or this certain enzyme in your food, or your body's not making it, then maybe we can't dispose of these toxins. And then that could be problematic for some people. Once again, I'm not the expert on this, and you could probably get some kind of crazy testing that I hope to be doing pretty soon on myself to see what toxins I can deal with and what I can't, to what extent, and how I can improve my tolerances or just reduce the toxins in the foods that I may not be able to deal with because of my genes. So what I will say is this. So what does that mean in relationship to the toxins in the food? That means the dose is in the poison. Some people may be very sensitive to certain things. Some people may be not as sensitive, Some people that lived in Africa, for example, they've always eaten traditional foods have been high in oxalates, so they're more apt to deal with eating high oxalate foods if they also have the proper microbiome than a person that, from Alaska that's not eaten a lot of these oxalate containing foods to some extent, And so you have to figure out your specific dose. The thing I believe is that, we shouldn't look at toxins as good or bad. We should look at them in like a range. And I like to use this whole range concept or continuum concept that I like to talk about in some of my past videos. So it's like a blood test. If you got a vitamin D blood test, right? I mean, they say that if it's supposed to be around 35 to 50, whatever the measurement is, optimally, I mean, the range is probably bigger, but that's maybe the healthy range, 35 to 50 or something like that. I'm out in the sun every day in the summertime, getting lots of vitamin D. That's the best way to make it. But, you may need to supplement if you don't get a lot of sun or, especially in winter times in some certain latitudes. And in the certain vitamin D range, if you're on the low end of the range, that's not good because maybe your immune system won't function. If you're in the high end or have too much, that might not be a good thing either. You want to be just in the sweet spot, just in the right range. And that's how I believe toxins are with us. We don't want to have too little, but we don't want to have too much either. We want to be in the right range for us and the right toxin for us. And these are lots of things to figure out. And I'm not the genius to know all these things on how much, but I will tell you some strategies to make sure that you're going to more than likely, if you're a healthy person, be in the right range for you based on logic and based on, people of past history. 6th point I will make, and this is probably the most important point that I like to focus on about plant toxins, is that plant toxins can be good for us. Yes, I will say that again. Plant toxins can be good for us if taking in the right accordingly range. And once again, the range of each toxin varies, and some toxins can be like you need very little because in almost all cases it's poisonous, and I don't care about your genetic history or what kind of microbiome you have. You eat sprouted kidney beans, you're going to feel some consequences, at some extent. So some plants are very highly toxic, including some mushrooms can be very highly toxic unless heat processed. That being said, I think all mushrooms should be heat processed for their health, for the most health benefit, and to break down some of the toxins and chitin that can be existing in mushrooms and actually make them more digestible for us. So why can toxins be good for us? So toxins, basically how our bodies break them down and use them to make metabolites and to make other things. So for example, EGCG, you guys might know that's like a property in tea that is good for us. It's known as an antioxidant or maybe polyphenol. And the reason why that's good for us is not because that's good for us, but what happens is that, a lot of polyphenols in the plants, some of my favorite compounds, are actually bad for us because our bodies consider them toxins. Luckily, most of them will just go through our digestive system and go out the other end and not get digested. But some of it will get digested through our digestive process and also through our microbiome. And so in the case of tea, for example, we eat this and then it's digested by our livers and stomachs, help to break these down, especially with microbiome influences. and then it'll give us metabolites in our bloodstream that are actually healthy for us after that toxin has been broken down. And we've been dealing with these, once again, plant toxins in nature in natural amounts that we could just pick and eat, as humans on the planet in natural amounts. Now, if you took EGCG like capsules and concentrated that and took a whole bunch of it, at a certain point, up to a certain point, it'd be good. Maybe too little is not good. At a certain point, in a certain range, it's good. And then above that range is bad, because now you're having too much. You're overloading your body, and more is not better, right? Instead of taking all kinds of EGCG, maybe have some green tea once in a while, but then have some cacao and coffee and some eggplant. You want to get a range of these different plant toxins, because they could all produce different end metabolites that could benefit us in the end. But of course, yet some plant toxins can be highly deadly. I'm not going to eat some Queen Anne's lace because John said that could be good for you. No, I'm not saying that. Stick with normal plant foods. If you want to know what plant foods are edible, according to science and history, you could check out a website, pfaf.org. They get into a lot of different wild foods and their edibility rating. I experiment myself with plant foods that I'm not familiar with that may be on that list, and sometimes are not listed on pfaf.org to know if they are edible, to see what it's going to do to me. And but that's at my own risk, and you should take your life into your own hands. If you want to be safe, just buy the stuff at the grocery store or farmers markets that are generally thought of as foods, and don't experiment into the whole wild food thing, because that is where you could really get into some problems. Plus, also, you want to use traditional style processing methods and cooking methods of eating foods. The old-fashioned people didn't have all the science that we had today, and they found that by processing foods in certain ways, you could make them more nutritious, like fermenting soybeans into natto, for example. Makes it store longer, breaks down some of the toxins, makes it more nutritious, and even gives us vitamin K2, which can be deficient in a vegan diet, in my opinion. So you just learned that plant toxins may actually be good for us. And am I just saying this? Do I not have any studies to back me up? No, I'm going to have some studies here to back me up, right? We're going to cover some of the common, toxins in the food, such as phytates. Oh, phytates are bad. Or lectins. There's a doctor, talks about lectins. Don't eat any lectins, they're bad. Or don't eat any solanine in the Solanaceae family plants that are just right behind me. They're bad. That's bad. Or don't eat any oxalates. Oxalates are bad. They're going to destroy your health. They're the worst thing in the whole world. We're going to find out if they are actually truly good or bad based on science. So let's go ahead and pull this one out. So we got a couple science. I'll name them off. And if I remember, I'll put links down below in the description. So this article is entitled Roots and Tuber Crops as Functional Foods, a review on phytochemical constituents and the potential health benefits. And I'm just going to basically read a couple sections out of this. So they talk about glycoalkaloids, which are in Solanaceae family plants like potatoes or root crop. It says glycoalkaloids are an important class of phytochemicals found in many species of the genera Solanum and Vertrum. Alkaloids are nitrogen-containing secondary metabolites found mainly in several higher plants and microorganisms and animals. Then I'm going to jump down here, and it basically says steroidal alkaloids and their glycosides present in several species of Solanum are known to possess a variety of biological activities, such as anti-tumor, antifungal, tetratogenic, antiviral, anti-estrogenic activities. Certain glycoalkaloids are used as anti-cancer agents. Their steroidal alkaloid glycosides showed cytotoxic activity against various tumor cell lines. Which I remember my dad had some kind of cancer, skin cancer on his face, and he was ordering this extract of eggplant from Europe, basically as a natural alternative to doing the conventional medical route, because it's shown to be anti-cancer. Surely I would do that before I got some medical treatment because it's more natural. But yet these glycoalkaloids can be beneficial for us. Does that mean we should just take glycoalkaloid pills? I would say no. Does that mean that we should not be maybe that scared of the, alkaloids and the Solanaceae family plants, like the peppers, like the eggplants and tomatoes and potatoes? I would say yes. And in some cultures, actually, the tomato leaves, they eat the tomato leaves. they're not toxic. And same thing, peppers, I looked this up. You know, it's not a common practice, but some cultures do that now. Once again, I would not be eating pepper leaves or tomato leaves like every single day and pound it in, right? Because then you're going to get too many of those toxins. You know, hey, if you want to have a few pepper leaves or tomato leaves here and there, you know, I don't think that's the worst thing, provided you're healthy otherwise, you don't have any allergies to these things, and you have a healthy microbiome. That's me personally. All right, so that's the glycoalkaloids. It might be good for us, anti-tumor, anti-cancer. The next article, published article, Science, I have is on oxalates. I get questions about this a lot. I made a video, I'll post the link down below if I remember, on oxalates many years ago. And, you know, I still pretty much have that same line of thought, although I've maybe advanced and learned more since I made that video. So don't ever trust my old videos to be 100% truth, you know, because as I learn something new, I will share the new stuff with you. Anyway, so, yeah, so this published journal study is entitled Metabolomic Profiling of Oxalate-Degrading Probiotic Lactobacillus acidophilus and Lactobacillus gasseri. So basically what they're saying is oxalates, they say, are in plant foods can be bad because they could cause, you know, they participate with calcium and form kidney stones in the kidneys. And so then you just, you know, avoid all oxalates. And because they're bad, they could cause kidney stones. Well, some people are more prone to kidney stones than others, in my opinion. But the other thing is this, right? In this article, they prove that certain microbes, such as Lactobacillus acidophilus, which is a very common one, and Lactobacillus gasseri, basically eat or degrade the oxalates and actually make secondary metabolites, or they basically, to make it non-science, they poop out nutrients for you. So we're going to jump to the conclusion here. Conclusion. We conclude that the metabolomes and lipidomes of L. acidophilus and L. gasseri displayed appreciable differentiation both in terms of their general profile and relatively expression of individual compounds. Although we successfully identified 97 metabolites and 71 lipids between these species, we acknowledge that there are many factors yet to be characterized in the lactobacillus metabolic pool. Among the metabolites we identified, several hold potential to provide immune support and other benefits to the host in a probiotic relationship. So I don't know about you guys, I've been learning a lot about the microbiome lately. So basically what this is telling me is that, you know, while the oxalates may be bad, this feeds your microbiome, your good bacteria, if you got them in you. And there's other bacteria that will also degrade oxalates based on my research in the past. Besides these two, you know, they'll create metabolites like, you know, fats and other things that can help enhance and help our immune system. Also maybe help us stay fit and trim and healthy. The problem is if you don't have those probiotics, then guess what? You're not going to be digesting oxalates. So that may be a risk factor for having kidney stones if you don't have a good microbiome. I don't know if there's any studies on that. I'll have to look it up. It hasn't really interested me because I'm pretty solid that I have a good microbiome. And I'm going to do a test here pretty soon. I'm going to test my microbiome on my dog. And I hope my dog has a better microbiome than your 5th grader because he eats a wide variety of foods pretty much similar to my diet. Actually, just about my diet plus his additional dog foods. Let's get into the next topic or the next study here we have here. All right, this is about phytates. Should you always soak your nuts and seeds? Should you just avoid, you know, the different beans because they have phytates in there? You know, phytates are bad. And it says, potential health benefits and adverse effects associated with phytates in foods, a review. So I'm going to read a few paragraphs off this study, basically. It says, consumption of phytates, however, seem not only to have adverse health effects, but also potential benefits on human health. Dietary phytate was reported to prevent kidney stone formation. Whoa, we just talked about oxalates. Protect against diabetes, mellitus, caries. That's cavities, guys. Atherosclerosis and coronary heart disease, as well as against a variety of cancers. Whoa. So maybe you're avoiding your phytates, but you eat your oxalates. And guess what? Now you could have kidney stones because you're not eating phytates that it says right here that prevent kidney stone formation. So maybe we should eat some of these toxins so that they all balance out each other, you know. Let's see, I want to go to the bottom, the conclusion here. Recent studies on phytate have shown its beneficial effects such as decrease in blood lipids, decrease in blood glucose response, and cancer risk. In addition, a high phytate diet is used in the inhibition of dental caries and platelet aggregation for the treatment of hypercalorrhea and kidney stones in humans as an antidote activity against acute lead poisoning. The beneficial health effects of phytates are more significant for populations in developed countries because of the higher incidence of cancer, especially colon cancer, which is associated with higher fat and low fiber rich food intakes. Yeah, isn't that like carnivore diet? Higher fat and low fiber. Phytates, they can be good for you. So maybe phytates and oxalates balance each other out. And if you're avoiding one or the other, maybe that's not a good thing, in my opinion. All right, next, let's talk about your favorite and mine, plant lectins. This is an article. Oh, look, I got a ladybug on me because I'm organic. All right, ladybug, we don't want to be on me. I don't have any aphids you could eat. Let's see. Uh-oh. All right, there's the ladybug. You see him crawling up there? All right, we're going to put him back on my pepper plants. All right. All right, next article is on lectins. Lectins with potential for anti-cancer therapy. So we're just going to jump down to the conclusion here. In summary, the use of lectins obtained from natural plant and animal sources shows great promise and potential use for future cancer therapy. Why do people on a keto diet get more cancer? Maybe because they're not eating lectins, because their lectins are bad, according to a lot of their popular, keto teachers out there. Because all these plant, toxins are bad, and you should just avoid them. Dude, they could have some benefits. Once again, don't eat too much, don't eat too little. Anyways, and potential for future use in cancer therapy. Current research has found strong anti-cancer effects of many lectins, as shown in this article. Right? So lectins might be good for us in some quantities. Oh, this is another one. This is a current published study with the Times, and it says plant lectins are potent inhibitors of coronaviruses by interfering with two targets in the viral replication cycle. So we're just going to jump down to the bottom here. In conclusion, we have identified a variety of plant lectins as antiviral compounds against the SARS-CoV and FIPV. The lectins most probably interfere with the glycans on the spike protein during virus entry and the virus release. I will not make any conclusions as to this, but I will say that I want plant lectins in my diet, in my life. If it will give me stronger immunity. I was diagnosed with a complement immune deficiency when I was younger, which I believe I no longer have, but I need to test that with a blood test pretty soon. But it's these plant compounds basically will cause us to have better health than not, in my personal opinion. I mean, there's a really good YouTube channel called Plant Choppers. It's actually one of my favorite plant-based YouTube channels, and the guy did 2 videos now with how long people on a keto diet or a plant-based diet live. The plant-based diet people lived a lot longer than the keto people in that video. Hey, I'll post a link down below to that because that dude is cool. I love him. But yeah, so I mean, success leaves clues, right? A keto diet is a brand new diet. Like no long-lived cultures in society have ever eaten a keto diet. While it may have some benefits in a short term, in my opinion, I would not do that in a long term. That being said, as you guys learned in this episode, plant toxins are probably not as bad as most people would lead you to believe. Can be actually good for you in proper amounts. So the question is, John, should I take lectin supplements if I got cancer? I'm not going to tell you that. You guys need to see a doctor. But what I will tell you is this, if you get normal plant foods, process them in traditional and accepted ways to reduce their toxic load, if some of those toxins are left over, like some lectins are left over in the skin of your, almonds or whatever, and you eat them and you don't feel any adverse effects, like if I eat almonds that have not been soaked or sprouted with the skins removed, I'll actually break out with some kind of weird thing on my skin, right? Then it's probably a good thing to not really worry about them. But once again, don't make your diet out of almond milk and drink that every single day, because the more you drink almond milk, right, the more you may be concentrating some of those toxins in the almonds. The assured way of getting some of these toxins, but not too many, are using traditional methods, and more importantly, eating a wide variety and different kinds of plant foods that have different kinds of plant toxins. Don't buy the freaking spinach at Costco that's organic every single week and make smoothies every single day. As much as I love kale, don't make kale smoothies every single day, right? If it was me, I would do kale smoothie once a week, a spinach smoothie once a week, then another day I'd have a dandelion smoothie, another day I might have, a bok choy smoothie, one day I'll have a celery smoothie. We want to mix up our plant toxins. Don't drink almond milk every single day. That's great if you like it. But make almond milk one day, make Brazil milk the next day, make this milk the next day. And I don't even like nut milks, man. You're drinking a lot of basically water. I prefer vegetable juices, and I try to always rotate my ingredients in my juices and the different juice recipes that I'm making based on produce availability, which encourages me to eat seasonally, and also, more importantly, encourages me to eat other foods. If you're going to the store and buying the black turtle beans every single week, because I eat black turtle beans, hey, get some kidney beans once in a while, get some of these beans, get different kinds of eggplants. There's all kinds of heirloom eggplants that have different levels of solanine. Heat process them. I don't encourage the use of an eggplant raw necessarily, especially dehydrated eggplant. And a study I recently reviewed shows it lowers some of the polyphenol or antioxidant compounds, and actually pressure cooking eggplants was the best way to eat them, and that's how I do it now. I have a future video where I talk about how I've introduced, select whole plant foods, that have been heat processed to enhance my raw foods diet, which is a whole different subject. But nonetheless, here's a summary of this video: is eat a wide variety of foods. Don't eat too many of one food. Always eat something different every single day. Vary your diet, and a normal healthy person should be okay with some of these smaller amounts of plant toxins, and in my personal opinion, probably going to extend your life because you are eating some of these plant toxins. And the other thing I didn't mention earlier is that our body systems are smart. The more plant toxins we deal with, to an extent, right? So don't take this overboard. The more plant toxins we deal with, to an extent, makes our body system, our detoxification system, have to deal with these toxins more efficient and better able to deal with future and more plant toxins in the future. So you are making yourself more resilient in some respect, in my personal opinion. Of course, go see a doctor if you want medical advice. This is just for informational purpose only, and this is how I'm choosing to lead my life, which hopefully in this country I am free to do however I want to do it. And so hopefully this information has been valuable for you today to learn about my opinions on plant toxins, how they can be beneficial, how not to overdo any single one, how to vary your diet, how to eat more plants, eat more some of these foods with toxins, and don't be super concerned about it. And the other thing, final thing, most important, I want you guys to build your microbiome. Microbiome is so critical to our health, to definitely break down some of these toxins, especially like the oxalates in the foods. And the only way you're going to do that is by eating more of the prebiotics and getting some of the natural probiotics on the plant. So when you home grow your own food, and I spray in compost tea and spray in probiotics on my plants, these probiotics transfer to the plant, and when I eat the plant, they transfer to me. In addition, I'm also getting unique kinds of fibers in all the different plants I eat, and every different kind of fiber will feed certain microbiome in our guts. I also take some probiotic supplements, as well as eat fermented foods to build up your microbiome. The best thing to build your microbiome is something you guys can't do, which is basically being vaginally birthed and being breastfed at birth, in my opinion. So, if you guys are of childbearing age or will have children, I would encourage you guys to do both of those, if it's right for you. Hopefully it'll be right for me when I have a partner and have kids one day. And that's going to be very important for me, that my child is raised with a good microbiome, and the mom eats a diverse diet so that the mom's going to have good microbiome to pass on to the kids. The problem with today is all the junk food, the processed foods, these things don't have a lot of plant toxins. Our bodies are not, people that eat junk food are not used to dealing with plant toxins. In addition, they probably don't have a good microbiome because they're not dealing with plant toxins. So when they go to a 100% plant-based diet overnight, that can be disastrous because their bodies cannot deal with these plant toxins and the new foods. That's why I always encourage everybody, if you are getting into a new diet, make changes slowly and gradually. Eat your standard foods, whatever junk it is. You've been doing it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years already. Eat that 90% and introduce 10% plant foods slowly, so your body has I got mostly junk food, I'm cool with this, but then you got small percentages of the good stuff coming in, and then over weeks or months or years even, inch that percentage up until you crowd out all the junk food and increase the healthy food so that you live like I live now, which is on 100% plant-based diet. So you could get all these beneficial compounds in the plants that will just build our health in the long run, in my personal opinion. I'm not a gambling man, but this is what I'm gambling on. I'm gambling with my time, making these videos to share with you guys, with growing my own plants, with eating plants, with researching all this stuff, and I believe this will pay me off. I mean, if you look at Plant Chomper's video, he covered how long did Norman Walker, the Juice Man, and Jack LaLanne live. They all lived to, like, right around 100 years or even over 100 years old. That's what the concentration of some of the plant compounds can do to some extent, although you don't want to overdo anything. So I'm, because it's summertime, I've been reducing some of my juice consumption, and I'm increasing my fresh food consumption, including apricots and peaches that I just got a bunch of at a local farm. Hey, check my Instagram, link is down below. You can see my recent haul at the local farm and some of the foods I'm eating and growing, as well as my daily musings and teaching of you guys to just drop some of my knowledge with you guys so that I could make the world a better place. Because truly, I am happy to be alive. I was given a second chance at life. I almost lost my life due to a health condition, and I had to turn my health around, and that's why I make this channel. I believe my channel is really underrated. I don't know of any other plant-based person making videos that are so unique and different like my videos, which is, cool. Everybody wants to repeat the dogma, but I try to think out of the box and think about these kind of things and how I can enhance my health. And, thankful you guys are my viewers and have watched me. And subscribe, hopefully. Click subscribe down below. And also, more importantly, share this video with other plant-based eaters so that they could learn why toxins aren't all that bad and not to be scared by some of these, plant-based doctors or non-plant-based doctors that tell you not to eat certain foods. Once again, everybody could have some microbiome imbalances and be allergic to certain foods. So, but, if we're all operating properly, I don't believe they're going to be an issue in the long run. So, yeah, like, share, and subscribe to this video. Subscribe down below. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out, so that you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes. You never know where I'll show up or what new interesting topics I'll be discussing on my channel. Also, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 600 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel dedicated to teach you guys all about how to eat a healthy fruit and vegetable based diet. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.